Hello Internet! It's September 7th, and you know what that means. The DC relaunch has really begun! Woohoo! Tons of new number ones, and I'm gonna go through them all. Alright, that means in order to do this, I have to go to my old school style, so I'm just going to read comics, then give my initial review, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to get through all of these tonight. So, hope you like it, hope it informs someone to something they will or will not buy. Try and help out. So, have fun, hang on, and we'll get to it all in just a second. But first, BAM! Atomic Robo! Yes! New one's out, Ghost of Station X, and it's awesome. Atomic Robo needs to go save astronauts in space. It broke the camera. Sorry. But it's an awesome comic. You should totally check it out. It's probably one of the best things on the shelves, at least this week. Alright, let's dig in. First up, Action Comics number 1. And thank God, at the very least, we're not doing the Superman Kryptonian blowing up to Earth, grow up with the Kents and the farm. No, it's not going that way. Thank goodness. That was my first fear that they're going to do, so wasn't that. I'm sure a lot of people know that from previews from a while back, but just saying. In here we actually see a lot of different takes on old characters. Jimmy Olsen looks like a chut, which is actually kind of refreshing, because you don't get a lot of even B-list big-name characters that aren't effectively, incredibly attractively drawn. So, yeah. Even Lois Lane's been brought down a peg. And the whole idea of Superman in this comic isn't as super. So whereas he's, pushing back the train and taking a bullet and all that, a tank's at least slowing him down. It's still Superman on the power level, but it's at a level that I think is at least a bit more manageable, which is nice to see. And yeah, he's younger. You see Superman deal with the landlord. I think they're going to go for kind of, I guess at this point it's pretty standard, but kind of a Spider-Man angle with the whole thing. So we're going to kind of get a bit more of a Clark Kent dealing with his life backstory and the fact that he has to go from the news to that. So I think that's going to play in a little differently here than it ever has before. Also, Superman has a bit more of an attitude on him, which, him being young and cocky with all that power makes sense, so I don't want to knock it, but at the same time, I understand a lot of people are going to have a lot of apprehension to that, because it's Superman, and if he's not kind of like the idyllic kid, the idyllic man, then it loses some of that punch, it loses a bit of it. But this could be, the whole Superboy thing with that, so I don't know. I mean, you can look at that however you want. Right now, I'm seeing it creating more story potential, so kudos. Damn good book. If you're interested in any of these, this is definitely one to pick up. I'm sure it's going to be talked about all over, so yay. Alright, let's talk Animal Man real quick. BAM! Jeff Lemire is doing the writing on this, and I think he's doing something a little deeper than most of the other ones will be doing. As a matter of fact, I mean, the first page here is just kind of an intro to get you to where the character's coming from. And I know Animal Man has kind of a rich following from the old Grant Morrison bit, but this one, I'm not 100% sure if it's a different angle, but he's definitely playing this whole family angle and the idea of the family man as a superhero. And as a matter of fact, he deals with a crazed gunman in a children's hospital who just had their kid die a few weeks back, and the guy obviously snapped. That's kind of the high action point of the comic, but I think it's going to be getting to something a little deeper and revolving more around the family members. Should be interesting, and I think it will be a bit different. So if you're looking for something a little off the beaten path and looking for this new 52 to kind of actually really go in a different direction than some other comics, I think this might be a good one. And obviously a bit more mature with it being more family based, but a bit darker at the same time. So yeah. Alright, here's the one I was really worried about. Batgirl, which FYI has already been selling out all over, so if you can grab a copy, I'd recommend it. Also, yeah, decent comic. Gail Simone addresses the whole issue that everyone's wondering about Barbara walking again, so that's interesting. I still feel like editorially the whole losing Oracle thing was a loss, but this was a really good issue on the upside, so hopefully it plays out and continues to be good. It's Gail Simone, so I obviously have lots of faith, but we'll see. Also interesting to note that the artist on Batgirl is very similar to a lot of other artists Gail Simone has worked with. I guess there's a kind of style that works well with her writing. Maybe editors notice that, or maybe it's just happened so far. Either way, I mean, the art looks great, so that's, I guess, what really matters, but just kind of an interesting thing to note that most Gail Simone comics past Udon kind of have a similar look going on. So, yeah. Alright, let's talk Batwing. And Jed Winnick's writing this, and he does an interesting job of trying to make this African Batman essentially work out. So obviously, yeah, black. Ben Oliver apparently is the main one on art, and he uses this style that's very much like photo tracing sort of deal, which makes everyone look somewhat realistic, but then it's all drawn out, so it is kind of comic-y, which I guess works. It's also interesting to note that Batman appears in the issue, but you never see Batman's face at all, even when they're in the Batwing cave deal military complex. They're also playing the Nightwing angle here, where Batwing's part of the African police state, so yay. I'm not sure if they're going to try to play a corruption angle from... So far it looks like they're on the up and up, which I don't know. If you don't play with that at all, especially given what you're going for here, it'd be kind of lame. But first issue in, they're dealing with something a bit more straightforward. Fair enough. This villain named Massacre, who's massacring a village. The other thing about the art, though, that really pulls out from this comic, I mean, despite being decently written, and yeah, it's not going to measure to some of the other stuff coming up here, certainly, but there's no background in the art at all, which makes it so that you can't really place anything for something that's so heavily grounded in its setting versus all these other, mainstream DC comics. To not have any African setting, really, is a shame. I mean, there's a few things here, a few blades of grass kind of depict that they're in a building, but it's just, the backgrounds are so minimalistic, it just pulls me right out of the comic and kills the title as a whole. Which is sad, because, I mean, some of the other art works pretty well and whatnot, and the writing's there, but just that one major thing, just that doesn't have to be in every comic as much, needs to be in this comic, and yeah, that's what's killing it for me on this one, but still decent. If you're really into this idea of more African-American superheroes, or something in a bit off the beaten path, and something viably actually, I guess, new, though was another bad title really that new, and that's up to your opinion, but if you're up for something like that, I definitely say get out and support this title, because it's not bad, but it could use some work. Alright, Detective number 1, flagship title, and they put Tony Daniel on it, and it's the best Tony Daniel Batman comic I've ever read. There's that. There's a little bit of the twist ending, but essentially it's just a Batman Joker issue with a lot of the same beats that you've seen before. Before, actually. So, yeah. Kinda lame. No, not kinda. Really, actually pretty disappointing. I mean, okay, if this was just another Batman issue or whatever with the twist ending and a couple other things, yeah, but DC Comics, Detective Comics number 1, this should be something special. This should be something unique. They shouldn't just shove whatever on this title, and in some ways they kind of are. I mean, an old hashed out Batman Joker issue? Really? That's the biggest disappointment I think I've hit so far. Alright, Green Arrow is actually just kind of Green Arrow getting on some gang activity, kind of status quo, but the way it's framed makes the issue kind of worthwhile. Nothing particularly stand out, but a little bit of a new direction. Pretty much status quo. But I will say, as an aspiring mustachio, he got rid of his facial hair. Ugh, not cool, man. Not cool. He was one of the few heroes with defining facial hair characteristics, and now that's gone? Another loss to the new 52. They printed Hawk and Dove! Yeah! Don't pick it up. I'm staying positive. Moving on to hopefully another good comic. Alright, Justice League International. Definitely international, pulling characters from all over the globe, so points for that. As far as the issue itself, quirky, fun enough, art's there, but this is an assemble the team issue, so I really would reserve judgment until reading more, but so far so good, but hey, we'll see. Alright, Men of War. It's a pretty damn solid army comic, which, I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever read one just straight up army before, and for that alone, I'd say check this book out. I mean, of all the things that are supposed to be new, I mean, I know it's harkening more back to an older age of comics, you know, even pre-big name superhero stuff, but hey, it hasn't been around in a long time, and for that alone, that book's worth checking out to just see if it's something you're into. I mean, it's something that I think is pretty much a genre-based taste thing, so you're gonna like it or you won't, but picking up that first one will be worthwhile. Also, $3.99 for extra pages. There's this extra bit called Navy SEALs that has another decent army story. I mean, I don't know. Awesome. Check it out. So, Dan DiDio decided to do a comic. Omac! And I say this as someone who's been a comic nerd pretty much his entire life, and even knew some of the B-list characters that show up in here. I was completely freaking lost. Now, I should go back and reread this more carefully before making any bold accusations, but it's dense, the pacing is definitely a bit off. It's a tough read. And the art harkens back to an older Kirby-esque style. Well, not quite capturing that full magic, but Jack Kirby, how are you going to capture that? This book probably has good intentions. There might be some more highfalutin sci-fi fans out there. Maybe after it fleshes out a bit more to actually be a bit more of a story instead of a hook, might play out better, but for now, I am completely turned off by this first issue. So, hey, I've never really read Omac like this before. Only knew it as something in relation that Batman created, and now, bleh, I say. Alright, Static Shock! He's a teenager who secretly is a superhero on the side. It's so fresh and original. I'm just kidding. I mean, yeah, done before, but, you know, Static Shock, I mean, been around, but he's not flying on a trash can, he's flying around in some weird hexagonal thing. But it's a solid comic, just it is that whole old teenage angle, which is funny that it's the only comic that I've seen like that when they've been pushing for the younger and younger angle. But hey, young, hip, fresh, woohoo, it's there. And it's done really well, and if I was looking for that kind of comic, I think I'd totally be into this. Personally, it's hard for me to stomach anything that's at that high school level anymore, so that's a personal barrier thing for me, and I recognize it. But if you're into it, it's there. It's nothing as deep. I think if you're looking for the family angle, I think it's much more interesting to come at it from the other end with Animal Man. Alright, Stormwatch! It's Authority and the old Stormwatch and Martian Manhunter, and it's all rolled into one. They're trying to get Apollo on their team, and then things go awry. But, big fear is that they're gonna make Midnighter and Apollo not gay, which would be sad. So sad. It's kind of bizarre reading this book. I mean, the Authority especially, which most of these characters are from, started off kind of playing off the idea of the Justice League, poking fun at it a little bit, and also talking about if you had all these vastly powerful people who were so visible, what it would really mean and what they actually could really do to influence change instead of just, being a superhero group up in space. So it's really funny to see them now in DC kind of doing this whole thing. But it's a damn compelling book, and I definitely would say that I'm going to keep going with this one forever that's worth. But again, kind of team ensemble issue, and if you didn't know these characters beforehand, I have a feeling you'd be lost as well, which is kind of a shame because this is supposed to drag in new readers, especially on a book like Stormwatch, which was not as many as popular characters, so to just throw people in is a bit off, I'd say, but it's interesting enough that I think you could push through that as well. So hey, plus people have the internet, so Wikipedia that shit, I guess. Right, Swamp Thing was beautifully drawn, and I don't want to say any more than that. Not to say that it wasn't interestingly written, but for what happened here and the way the story progressed, this is possibly not even the conclusion of Act 1 of a story. I mean, I know it's serial fiction and all that, of course, but it was literally nothing but set up and done one of the most compelling ways I've seen for this sort of deal, but still just set up. So it's hard to really have an opinion yet. So that's it for the first batch of the DC 52. Please tune in next week where there will be more, the next chunk, as soon as I can tell you guys about it. Hope you enjoyed this. Any questions, comments, feedback, death threats, put it in the doobly-doo down below. And I will check y'all later, and please, like the video or something so we can get a few more people watching and maybe get the ball rolling a little more. Sweet! Check y'all later. Bye.